the eighth grade classroom, being upstairs, it had a good view of the Georgia Railroad. And I'd always loved trains. My dad, he had a lot of experience with trains, traveling on trains, and he'd talk about it. Then at Buckhead, I watched the trains come into Buckhead. The sidings were different than they are now. That's a passing track in Buckhead, a long passing track. But back then they had a shorter passing track, and it started across from the schoolhouse, and it went through the town of Buckhead, and then it tucked into the main line down where the new passing track starts, where the road to Oconee Shores and Appalachian Woods crosses. And then from that passing track, they had a little siding where they would drop off boxcars and boxcars, I guess, with feed for the animals, for the farm animals, and they would also have groceries for the stores, and it had all kinds of mercantile items. They'd leave the boxcar there for a couple of days, 3 days, and then they'd come pick it up. And I can remember that the grade crossing in Buckhead, you had to cross 3 sets of tracks, where you just have one right now. And there was no paving; it was all dirt. And so the grade crossings had sand and gravel built in. I mean, so that you wouldn't be too bumpy. But the trouble, when it rained, it would catch water. And I can remember one, I thought it was a gigantic freight locomotive. He had stopped right there where the crossing was, and he had about 20 or 30 cars behind him. And the water had puddled, and he tried to get that moving, but the water lubricated the wheels, and steel wheels against steel rails, very slippery if you don't use sand. Well, he used sand, and he used almost all the sand up. He finally got it moving, but that was the most fun, watching those wheels go round and round, back and forth, those rods. So you don't have that problem now, but back then they had a nice depot, and I'm real sorry we don't still have that depot today, because that was where I told you that the big room on the back of the depot had a big cooler there, and we'd get ice delivered from Madison put in there, and that's where we stored the milk until it was picked up. And then the same train would bring the empty cans down the next day or so on the eastbound train from Atlanta to Augusta.